NASCAR's turnkey lost team, Jasper Motorsports. Jasper Motorsports is a former NASCAR Cup Series race team that competed from 1971 through 2005. Several different owners would hold stake in the race team at different times throughout the race team's existence, as well as several notable drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series behind the wheel of one of the team's race cars, such as Tim Richmond, Ernie Irvan, Dave Blaney, Mark Martin, and Sterling Marlin, among others. Debuting in the then NASCAR Grand National, now NASCAR Cup Series, at Maysville in the spring, starting and finishing 29th. Throughout the 1971 NASCAR Cup Series season, D.K. Ulrich attempted 16 events, qualifying for 12 of them, behind the wheel of his self-owned number 40 Ford for 10 starts, and number 41 for 2 starts. Ulrich's best start was 14th at Kingsport in the spring, and his best finish was 12th at Islip Speedway in the summer. Dick May also made a one-off start in D.K. Ulrich's number 40 Ford at Dover in the fall, starting 35th and finishing 19th. Roy Main made a one-off start in that number 40 Ford as well at Darlington in the fall, starting 37th and finishing a reasonable 10th. Only attempting 8 Cup Series events in 1972, qualifying only 4 times. Ulrich's best start in that number 40 Ford was 19th, and his best finish was 11th, both coming at Nashville in the late summer. For the 1973 NASCAR Cup Series season, D.K. Ulrich and his number 40 Noel's Auto Sales Ford made more starts than the season prior, making 11 himself, though still not able to find his way to the front of the field really ever. Ulrich's best start was 27th at Richmond in the fall, and his best finish was 18th at Darlington in the fall. Overall, in 11 starts, he scored 1 top 20, finishing 36th in final Cup Series point standings. Frank Warren also made 3 starts behind the wheel of that number 40 Ford. Warren's best start was 33rd at Martinsville in the spring, and his best finish was 15th at Nashville in the late summer. In the first half of the team's existence, they rarely would run the full Cup Series schedule. For the 1974 Cup Series season, DK would return to his number 40 Noel's Auto Sales Chevrolet, attempting 16 events, qualifying for 15. Ulrich's best start was 23rd at Richmond in the spring, and his best finish was 12th at Nashville in the summer. Overall, in 15 starts, Ulrich scored 4 top 15s and 7 top 20s, finishing 32nd in final Cup Series point standings. 3 other drivers made one-off starts for Ulrich's race team. Tony Bettenhouse Jr. made his one-off start at Rockingham in the fall, starting 36th and finishing 20th. At Michigan in the late summer, Ed Negree made his one-off start, starting 28th and finishing 21st. Harry Schilling was the final driver to make a one-off start for their team in 1974 at Riverside in the late spring, starting 29th and finishing 24th. Ulrich's 1975 NASCAR Cup Series season saw him make 17 attempts, qualifying 16 times, behind the wheel of his number 40 Garden State Auto Body Shop Chevrolet. Though that number 40 team found some speed in the off-season, in fact, running the entire second half of the 1975 season, full-time. Ulrich's best start was 13th at Bristol in the spring, and his best finish was 10th at Dover in the fall. Overall, in 16 starts, Ulrich scored 1 top 10, 5 top 15s, and 6 top 20s, finishing 26th in final Cup Series point standings. Randy Bethea made a one-off start behind the wheel of the team's number 40 Chevrolet in the World 600 at Charlotte in the spring, starting 39th and finishing 33rd, following a lap 251 engine failure. For 2 seasons, D.K. Ulrich would essentially take his team full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series, racing the 1976 and 1977 season for a man named J.R. Deletto, coming on board and purchasing the majority of the ownership of the number 40 team. Ulrich had 2 of his highest career points finishes in those 2 seasons. In 76, he finished 14th and 15th in 77. At the conclusion of the 1977 season, Deletto sold the team back to Ulrich. After running 2 full-time Cup Series seasons with another business partner, owning his number 40 Chevrolet team, in 1978, D.K. Ulrich took back over as sole owner of the race team, making the first 22 starts of the season. Ulrich was on course to having his career best season yet, until a crash at Darlington in the fall revealed a nitrous oxide bottle in his race car, which resulted in Ulrich being suspended for the remainder of the season. His best start was 10th 3 times at Pocono, Michigan, and Bristol in the summer. His best finish was 9th at Bristol in the fall. Overall, in 22 Cup Series starts, he scored 3 top 10s, 9 top 15s, and 17 top 20s, finishing 22nd in final NASCAR Cup Series point standings. Ulrich returned to his number 40 Buick Chevrolets full-time in 1979 in the NASCAR Cup Series, having a rather solid season, spending 18 weeks in the top 10 in points throughout the season. Ulrich's best start was 9th at North Wilkesboro in the fall, and his best finish was 6th at Rockingham in the spring. Overall, in 30 starts, Ulrich scored 5 top 10s and finished 12th in final Cup Series point standings. At Nashville Fairgrounds, Ulrich made a one-off start in Cecil Gordon's number 24 Oldsmobile, starting 13th and finishing 16th. For that event, Al Elmore made a one-off start behind the wheel of Ulrich's number 40 Chevrolet, starting 18th and finishing 15th. As the sport moved into a new decade, the 1980s, in 1980, Ulrich's number 40 began using a revolving door of drivers. Ulrich himself only made 10 Cup Series starts in his number 40. His best start was 5th, and his best finish was 10th, both coming at Bristol in the late summer. Tim Richmond made the second most starts for the team, 4 in the number 40 and 1 in the number 6. Richmond's best start was 17th at Dover in the fall, and his best finish was 12th 3 times, at Pocono in the summer, then Martinsville and Charlotte in the fall. Stan Barrett and Ricky Rudd each made 3 starts apiece. Barrett's best start was 17th, and his best finish was 11th, both coming at Rockingham in the fall. Rudd's best start was 4th at Darlington in the spring, and his best finish was 12th at Rockingham in the spring. Dick May and Bill Whittington each made a pair of starts for Ulrich. May's best start was 15th, and his best finish was 7th, both coming at Dover in the spring. Whittington's best start was 28th, and his best finish was 8th, both coming at Riverside in the spring. 8 other drivers made one-off starts for Ulrich's race team. Mike Alexander at Nashville, starting 12th and finishing 10th. Joe Boer at Richmond in the spring, starting 30th and finishing 11th. Harry Dinwiddie at Talladega in the late summer, starting 38th and finishing 12th. Tommy Gale at Michigan in the early summer, starting 24th and finishing 19th. Starting Marlin in the second Nashville race, starting 17th and finishing 7th. J.D. McDuffie at Charlotte in the spring, starting 23rd, and following an engine failure on lap 145, McDuffie finished 30th. Lenny Pond at Daytona in the summer, starting 26th and finishing 11th. The final driver to make a one-off start in DK Ulrich's number 40 was Dick Skillen at Talladega in the spring, starting 22nd, and after a blown engine ended his race early on lap 76, he finished 28th. For the 1981 NASCAR Cup Series season, DK Ulrich's team continued to serve as an opportunity ride, if you will, as Ulrich would step out of the driver's seat more times than not to let younger drivers, or talented drivers, with some sponsorship get behind the wheel. In all, 18 different drivers would make starts for Ulrich's team throughout the 1981 Cup Series season. Ulrich made 13 starts throughout the 1981 season, 4 in his number 40 Buick, 8 in his number 99 Buick, and 1 in number 98 Buick, and 1 in a number 64. His best start was 10th in Nashville in the spring, and his best finish was 4th at Dover in the spring. Overall, in 13 starts, Ulrich scored 1 top 5 and 1 top 10. Tim Richmond started the season behind the wheel of Ulrich's number 99 Uno Buick for the first 11 races of the season, before skipping a couple races. While Richmond drove the number 99, Dennis Conner served as his crew chief. In all, Richmond made 13 starts in that number 99 before parting ways with Ulrich. Richmond's best start was 13th at Bristol in the spring, and his best finish was 6th at Talladega in the spring. Overall, in 13 starts, he scored 3 top 10s. Tommy Gale, Cecil Gordon, and Joe Boer each made 3 starts apiece for Ulrich. Out of the 3, Cecil Gordon scored the best start of 19th at Bristol in the fall. Tommy Gale scored the best finish of 14th at Dover in the spring. Drivers who made 2 starts, Ernie Irvan, Dick May, and Bob McElwee. Irvan scored the best start, 12th, at Riverside in the fall. McElwee scored the best finish of 8th at North Wilkesboro in the fall. The drivers who made one-off starts for Ulrich were Rick Baldwin, Chuck Bound, Elliott Forbes Robinson, Kevin Halsby, Don Hume, Slick Johnson, Rick Nope, Al Aquesto, Sterling Marlin, and Ronnie Thompson. Elliott Forbes Robinson scored the best start, 24th at Bristol in the fall. Rick Nope scored the best finish of 20th at Michigan in the late summer. The 1982 NASCAR Cup Series season saw D.K. Ulrich begin fielding 2 full-time entries. A number 6 Buick for Ulrich himself for the majority of the season, 21 starts throughout the season. His best start was 17th at Rockingham in the spring, and his best finish was 10th at Rockingham in the fall. Overall, in 21 starts, he scored 1 top 10, 8 top 15s, and 12 top 20s, finishing 25th in final Cup Series point standings. Al Aquesto made 5 starts behind the wheel of the number 6 Buick. His best start was 21st at Bristol in the late summer. His best finish was 16th at Pocono in the spring. Stan Barrett made a one-off start in the Daytona 500 behind the wheel of the number 6 Buick, starting 41st, and after an engine failure, he finished 31st. Randy Becker also made a one-off start in the number 6 at Riverside in the summer, starting 31st and finishing 21st. Overall, that number 6 entry in 28 starts scored 1 top 10. The other entry was a number 40 Buick. Slick Johnson made 11 attempts, qualifying 10 times, with the best start of 22nd in Nashville in the summer. His best finish was 16th at Dover in the spring. Overall, in 10 starts, Johnson scored 3 top 20s. Dick May made 6 attempts, qualifying 4 times in that number 40 Buick. His best start was 26th, and his best finish was 13th, both coming at Rockingham in the spring. Jimmy Hensley made 3 starts in that number 40 as well. His best start was 21st, and his best finish was 9th, both coming at Martinsville in the spring. Overall, in 3 starts, he scored 1 top 10. Joe Boer attempted 4 races, qualifying twice in the number 40. His best start was 30th at Pocono in the summer. His best finish was 18th at Michigan in the late summer. Then 3 drivers made one-off starts behind the wheel of Ulrich's number 40 Buick. Tommy Houston at Richmond in the spring, starting 29th and finishing 25th. Farrell Harris at Talladega in the spring, starting 40th and finishing 23rd. Then Joel Stowe at North Wilkesboro in the fall, starting 22nd. Then after a mechanical failure, he finished 27th. Overall, that number 40 made 28 starts throughout the 82 season, scoring 1 top 10. After running as a 2-car operation for the previous couple seasons, Ulrich cut back to only 1 entry for the 1983 NASCAR Cup Series season. The number 6 Buicks and Chevrolets had several drivers make starts behind the wheel. Ulrich himself made 16 starts. His best start was 21st at Rockingham in the fall, and his best finish was 10th twice at Darlington in the spring and Richmond in the fall. Overall, in 16 starts, he scored 2 top 10s. Jim Sauter made the first 4 starts of the season in that number 6. His best start was 15th at Richmond in the spring, and his best finish was 18th at Daytona in the spring. Overall, in 4 starts, he scored 2 top 20s. Al Elmore made 5 attempts, qualifying 4 times. His best start was 24th, and his best finish was 16th, both coming at Bristol in the late summer. Overall, in 4 starts, he scored 3 top 20s. Mark Martin made 2 starts in that number 6, years before he'd ever make starts in the number 6 for Ulrich Racing. His best start was 14th, and his best finish was 21st, both coming at Nashville in the spring. 2 drivers made one-off starts for Ulrich. Tommy Gale made a one-off start behind the wheel of a number 64 Buick at Martinsville in the spring, starting 27th, and after a blown engine on lap 390, he finished 22nd. Connie Saylor made a one-off start in Ulrich's number 6 Chevrolet at Daytona in the summer, starting 17th and finishing 18th. Overall, in 27 starts, that number 6 team scored 2 top 10s. Another several drivers made starts behind the wheel of Ulrich's U.S. Racing number 6 Buicks and Chevrolets, making 9 starts throughout the 1984 season himself. Ulrich's best start was 22nd at Rockingham in the spring, and his best finish was 17th at Dover in the spring. Overall, in 9 starts, he scored 3 top 20s. Clark Dwyer made 4 starts. His best start was 25th in Michigan in the late summer, and his best finish was 15th at Bristol in the late summer. Overall, in 4 starts, he scored 1 top 15 and 2 top 20s. Jim Sauter made 4 attempts, qualifying 3 times. His best start was 23rd at Charlotte in the spring, and his best finish was 17th at Atlanta in the spring. Overall, in 3 starts, he scored 2 top 20s. Jimmy Ingalls also made 3 starts in the number 6. His best start was 27th at Dover in the fall, and his best finish was 22nd at Rockingham in the fall. A couple drivers made 2 starts apiece. Doug Heveron's best start was 26th, and his best finish was 14th, both coming at Martinsville in the fall. Morgan Shepherd was the other driver who made 2 starts behind the wheel of that number 6. His best start was 25th in Nashville in the summer, and his best finish was 23rd at Charlotte in the fall. Connie Saylor made a one-off start at Daytona in the summer, starting 33rd and finishing 27th. While Ulrich had a rotation of drivers behind the wheel of his race cars for the previous several seasons, he hired Eddie Burwali to drive his number 6 U.S. Racing Chevrolet full-time in the 1985 NASCAR Cup Series season, making 26 starts throughout the 85 season. Burwali's best start was 22nd at Bristol in the spring, and his best finish was 15th twice in Atlanta and Bristol in the spring. Overall, in 26 Cup Series starts, he scored 2 top 15s and 12 top 20s, finishing 24th in final Cup Series point standings. D.K. Ulrich made a one-off start in a number 65 Buick at Rockingham in the fall, starting 40th, and after a rear-end failure on lap 286, he finished 32nd. The following season in 1986, Ulrich's U.S. Racing went back to a rotation of drivers. The season began for the number 6 Chevrolet with Canadian racer Trevor Boyes making the first 9 starts of the season. His best start was 14th at Richmond in the spring, and his best finish was 14th at Martinsville in the spring. Overall, 9 starts, he scored 1 top 15 and 3 top 20s. Joe Boer was the next driver to make a start in the number 6, making his first of 2 starts at both Dover races. His best start was 33rd, and his best finish was 18th, both coming at Dover in the fall. D.K. Ulrich himself was the next driver to make a start in the number 6 Chevrolet, making the first of 10 starts at Riverside in the spring. His best start was 26th at North Wilkesboro in the fall. His best finish was 17th twice at Pocono in the spring and Richmond in the fall. Overall, in 10 starts, he scored 6 top 20s. At the World 600, held at Charlotte in the spring, Richard Petty wrecked his primary car in practice. His backup car couldn't pass inspection, so it was not allowed by NASCAR. So he would end up buying Ulrich's number 6 Chevrolet ride for the 600-mile event, placing STP decals on the body of Ulrich's race car, starting 37th and finishing 38th, following an engine failure on lap 123. The next driver to make a start behind the wheel of the number 6 Chevrolet was Jim Sauter at Daytona in the summer, starting 41st and finishing 23rd. Rick Nope made a one-off start at Watkins Glen in the summer, starting 29th and finishing 20th. In 1987, U.S. Racing's rotation of drivers continued. Trevor Boyes made a one-off start in the 87 Daytona 500, starting 28th and finishing 23rd. Ulrich himself was the next driver to make a start, making the first of 7 starts. His best start was 26th at Richmond in the fall, and his best finish was 15th at Bristol in the spring. Overall, in 7 starts, he scored 1 top 15 and 2 top 20s. Bobby Baker made a one-off start at North Wilkesboro in the spring, starting 30th and finishing 23rd. Rick Nope made his first of 3 starts at Talladega in the spring. His best start was 34th at Watkins Glen in the summer, and his best finish was 20th at Dover in the fall. The next driver to make a start in Ulrich's number 6 was Connie Saylor, making his first of 6 starts at Charlotte in the spring. His best start was 27th at Michigan in the summer, and his best finish was 16th at Charlotte in the fall. Overall, in 6 starts, Saylor scored 2 top 20s. Ron Esau made a one-off start behind the wheel of Ulrich's number 6 at Riverside in the spring, starting 39th and finishing 22nd. Ernie Irvan made his first of 3 starts at race 22 in Richmond, after Ulrich noticed Irvan run well in a Dale Earnhardt-sponsored car. His best start was 24th, and his best finish was 15th, both coming in Martinsville in the fall. D.K. Ulrich would sign Ernie Irvan to drive his Kroger, Chevrolets, and Pontiacs full-time starting in 1988, attempting all 29 races, qualifying for 25 of them. His best start was 17th twice at Darlington and North Wilkesboro in the fall. His best finish was 11th at Martinsville in the fall. Overall, in 25 Cup Series starts, he scored 5 top 15s and 8 top 20s, finishing 26th in final Cup Series point standings. Irvan returned to the number 2 Kroger Pontiac full-time for the 1989 season. Bob Johnson served as his crew chief that season. This was a better season than the 88 season for sure. Irvan's best start was 8th at Bristol in the late summer, and his best finish was 6th at Martinsville in the fall. Overall, he scored 4 top 10s, finishing 22nd in final Cup Series point standings. At the conclusion of the season, Irvan and Ulrich parted ways. As the sport moved into a new decade, the 1990s, in 1990, Ulrich's U.S. Racing resorted back to having a rotation of drivers behind the wheel of their number 2. Eddie Burwali made a one-off start in the 1990 Daytona 500, starting 41st and finishing 32nd. Rick Mast was the next driver to make starts for Ulrich's race team, making 10 in the number 2 and 4 in the number 22. His best start was 8th, and his best finish was 12th, both coming at Bristol in the spring. Overall, in 14 starts, he scored 1 top 15 and 3 top 20s. Jim Bowen was the next driver to make a start for DK Ulrich at Sonoma, starting 42nd and finishing 22nd. Charlie Glotzbach made his first of 2 starts behind the wheel of the number 2 Pontiac and race 15 at Daytona. His best start was 38th at Daytona in the summer, and his best finish was 27th at Darlington in the fall. For the final 2 races of the season, Ted Musgrave took over the reins of the number 2. This after the team originally had planned to go full-time racing in 1991 with USAC veteran Rich Volger behind the wheel of a number 55 race car. He unfortunately lost his life while leading a USAC race at Salem Speedway in July of 1990. Therefore, they decided to give Musgrave the opportunity. Musgrave's best start was 25th, and his best finish was 22nd, both coming at Phoenix in the fall. 4 drivers made one-off starts. Jerry O'Neill starting 36th and finishing 26th at Watkins Glen in the summer. Rick Ware, yes, that Rick Ware, made his one-off start in a second entry at Watkins Glen, number 22 Pontiac, starting 35th and finishing 36th, following a brake failure on lap 42. Ulrich himself ran the fall Richmond race, starting 36th and following a lap 185 engine failure, he finished 33rd. Jim Sauter started 33rd at Dover in the fall, though following a lap 203 engine failure, Sauter finished 34th. Things really began to change for Ulrich's U.S. Racing starting in 1991, beginning with a number change to 55, as well as signing Ted Musgrave to run the full 1991 NASCAR Cup Series schedule, as well as Ray DeWitt becoming part owner of the race team. In the following season, the team would switch their name to Radius Motorsports, with the word Radius being derived from the initials in each part owner's name. DK Ulrich served as Musgrave's crew chief in 1991. His best start was 15th at Michigan in the summer, and his best finish was 12th at Bristol in the spring. Overall, in 29 starts, Musgrave scored 4 top 15s and 14 top 20s, finishing 23rd in final Cup Series point standings. For 2 seasons, 1992 and 93, Ulrich formed a partnership between he and Ray DeWitt and would call it Radius Motorsports. Like I said, Ted Musgrave was behind the wheel of the number 55 Jasper Engines Ford. Buddy Barrett began the 1992 season as Musgrave's crew chief until race 21 in Darlington, when Barrett was replaced by Sandy Johns. Musgrave had a pretty solid season in 92, spending the vast majority of the season in the teens in points throughout the season. Throughout 58 Cup Series starts between the 92 and 93 seasons, Musgrave's best start was 4th at Atlanta in the fall of 1993, and his best finish was 5th 3 times at Pocono in the summer of 1992, Pocono in the spring of 1993, and Michigan in the late summer of 93. Overall, in 58 Cup Series starts, he scored 3 top 5s and 12 top 10s, with the best points finish of 18th in 1992. At the conclusion of the 1993 season, Musgrave left for Roush Racing, and DeWitt and Ulrich dissolved their partnership, leaving the number 55 and the Radius Motorsports name with DeWitt, and Ulrich taking the Jasper sponsorship to form his own operation, with Doug Baldwell, an executive from Jasper Engines and Transmissions, renaming the team Jasper Motorsports. Greg Sachs would become Jasper Motorsports' first driver, behind the wheel of the number 77 U.S. Air Ford, full-time. Tony Furr served as Sachs' crew chief for the 1994 season. Sachs' best start was 1st at Atlanta in the fall. His best finish was 6th twice, at Daytona and Talladega in the spring. Overall, in 31 Cup Series starts, he scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 3 top 10s, finishing 31st in final Cup Series point standings. After a strong start to the season, they were plagued by DNFs for the second half of the season, netting 10 in the final 18 races. P.J. Jones made a one-off start at Watkins Glen in the number 88 Ford, starting 35th and finishing 35th, after fumes coming into the race car ended his race early on lap 67. The 1995 NASCAR Cup Series season saw Sachs get replaced in that number 77 Jasper U.S. Air Ford by Davy Jones for the 1995 season for what was intended to be a full-time rookie campaign. Though, after he DNQ'd 4 times in the first 11 races of the season, Jones was replaced by Bobby Hillin Jr. Jones' best start was 22nd at Talladega in the spring, and his best finish was 20th at Darlington in the spring. Starting at race 12 in Charlotte, Hillin took over that number 77 Ford. Hillin's best start was 14th in Michigan in the early summer. His best finish was 9th in Atlanta in the fall. Overall, in 18 starts, Hillin scored 1 top 10. At the conclusion of the 1995 season, D.K. Ulrich sold his share of the team to Doug Baldwell, and he formed a partnership with Jasper salesmen Mark Wallace and Mark Hanna. Hillin remained behind the wheel of the number 77 Jasper Engines Federal Mogul Ford for the 1996 Cup Series season. Paul Wise served as Hillin's crew chief for the 96 season, making 25 starts throughout the season, DNQing 6 times. Hillin's best start was 5th at Indianapolis in the summer. His best finish was 12th at Dover in the fall. Overall, in 25 Cup Series starts, Hillin scored 3 top 15s and 7 top 20s, finishing 37th in final point standings. Only 13 races into the 1997 season, Hillin was let go, DNQing 3 times in the first 13 events. His best start was 2nd, and his best finish was 20th, both coming at Talladega in the spring. Morgan Shepherd was the driver who replaced Hillin in that number 77, but could not find his footing behind the wheel of the Jasper ride. Attempting 11 races, only qualifying for 5 races. His best start was 15th at Michigan in the late summer, and his best finish was 24th at California in the summer. Robert Pressley took over that number 77 Ford after Shepherd parted ways with the team following race 24. Presley's best start was 11th at Talladega in the fall. His best finish was 13th at Rockingham in the fall. From 1998 through 2001, Robert Pressley would remain the full-time driver of the number 77 Jasper Engines Ford, making 126 NASCAR Cup Series starts throughout that time. His best start was 3rd at Phoenix in the fall of 2000. His best finish was 2nd at Chicagoland in the summer of 2001. Overall, in 126 NASCAR Cup Series starts, Pressley scored 3 top 5s and 8 top 10s, with the best points finish of 25th twice, in both 2000 and 2001. A few drivers made one-off starts and starts in a second-team car during this time. Ted Musgrave made a start at Martinsville in the fall of 1998, starting 9th and finishing 15th. Hut Strickland also made a start at Dover in the fall of 1998, starting 40th and finishing 30th. Boris Said made 2 starts at both road course races in 2001, behind the wheel of the number 77 Ford. His best start was 20th, and his best finish was 8th, both coming at Watkins Glen in the late summer. Dave Blaney took over the number 77 Jasper Engines Ford for both 2002 and 2003 NASCAR Cup Series seasons, making 72 starts between the 2 seasons. Now, 2002 was actually the more consistent of the 2 seasons for Blaney in the number 77, though his best start was 1st at Rockingham in the spring of 2003, and his best finish was 3rd at Darlington in the spring of 2003 also. The same race where Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch finished only thousandths of a second apart, fighting for the victory side by side. Ryan Pemberton served as crew chief for Blaney in 2002, and Booty Barker served as his crew chief in 2003. Overall, in 72 Cup Series starts, Blaney scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 9 top 10s, with a best points finish of 19th in 2002. Boris Said made another 2 starts for Jasper Motorsports, this time behind the wheel of a second-team car, a number 67 Jasper Engines Ford. His best start was 10th at Sonoma in the spring, and his best finish was 13th at Watkins Glen in the late summer. Blaney and Jasper parted ways at the conclusion of the 2003 season. Roger Penske would become a new partner in the race team, starting in 2004, and bringing Kodak as the number 77 team's new sponsor, as well as the team switching to Dodge. Brendan Gaughan took over the reins of the number 77 for the 2004 season. Gaughan's best start was 5th twice, at California and Dover in the spring, and his best finish was 4th at Talladega in the fall. Overall, 36 starts, he scored 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s, finishing 28th in final Cup Series point standings. That following season, in 2005, Travis Kvapil took over the number 77 Kodak Film Jasper Engines Dodge full-time for his rookie campaign. Kvapil's best start was 3rd at Richmond in the fall, and his best finish was 7th at Bristol in the spring. Overall, in 36 starts, Kvapil scored 2 top 10s, finishing 33rd in final Cup Series point standings. At season's end, Penske sold his shares of the number 77 team. Ballwell shut down the team and sold the team's owner's points to Bill Davis, who then fielded a number 55 from Michael Waltrip for the 2006 season. Between his stints driving for DEI and opening Michael Waltrip Racing when Toyota entered the NASCAR Cup Series in 2007. So between a few different owners and name changes, in 902 NASCAR Cup Series starts, the team scored 2 poles, 0 wins, 6 top 5s, and 56 top 10s, with the best points finisher 12th in 1979 by D.K. Ulrich. Thanks for watching, everyone, and take care.